Senator Bill Fortunato. He represents the 31st District, and he sits on the Judiciary Committee,
Law and Justice.
Yeah. And so if you're going to be talking about gun bills in the Senate side, you'll be seeing him smiling back at you. It's nice. So, Phil, thank you for coming.
Thank you. I appreciate Jane putting this on. It is a little depressing, actually, because when they talk about disenfranchised voters, okay, they're thinking about underprivileged people, and all. We are the disenfranchised voters.
Yeah.
It is hard to get conservatives out there because you're in the minority. It's an uphill battle. What's the point? They're going to do whatever the hell they want to do anyway, right? Now, as Bill points out, I moved here 45 years ago with my wife and my young son because we didn't want to raise our kid in New Jersey. Now, we got to get the hell out of here, man. We can't raise our grandkids here. This place is crazy. There are so many laws that threaten your family that they pass. I don't know whether you recall, they passed the Parents' Rights Bill, the initiative, and then the Democrats fixed it. So when you have an initiative to the people, and that passes in November, that can't be changed for 2 years unless there's a 2/3 vote to change it. So typically, things don't get changed when you pass an initiative to the people. But when you pass an initiative to the legislature, of which those 6 bills were, those 6 initiatives that passed, last year or year before, they simply become, if the legislature votes on it, they simply become a regular bill. So when they passed that Parents' Rights Bill initiative, it became law. The following year, they could change it with just a simple majority vote. So I want to touch on what can you actually do and how important is it for you to sign in and oppose or support legislation. It's extremely important. It's important because, as a representative mentioned, we advocated for them to actually read the number of people that support or oppose a bill. So, at the end of a bill, anti-gun bill, you might hear something like 1,076 people signed in support, 9,700 and something opposed. Okay, that's actually pretty powerful. That goes in the record. That goes in. You can actually use that because who is voting against the people? Who is supporting our rights? Who's listening to us? And which party is doing that? So I get a little bummed out because you sit there and you go, like, what's the point? Every single bill that I run, they kill the bill in the House, it passes the Senate, goes to the House, they kill it in the House. If I want to get a bill passed, what I need to do is find I wrote the bill, I go to a Democrat and I say, you sponsor the bill, I'll be number 2 on the bill. So I got to give away my own bill, have a Democrat sponsor it, then take credit for it in order to get a bill passed. But somebody said, what's the legislature like? It's like being in high school. What's like, right? You got the bullies, you got the prima donnas, you got the in crowd, so to speak. But my wife says to me, people say, do you go home and you discuss this stuff with my wife who's here today? And I said, nah, I stopped doing that. Every time I tell her stuff that's going on, she gets mad and wants to move out of state. So, I come home and I say something and she responds with Montana. Right? So, but I want to give you a few little stories. Do you remember the bump stock ban? Yeah. The original bump stock bill, if you read the original bill banned it banned firearms that used recoil to cycle. Okay. Now, when I pointed out that this banned every single semi-automatic firearm, the response I got back from the sponsor of the bill was, "What does recoil have to do with semi-automatic firearm?" Right? I go, I don't know. I mean, it's just how every single one of them works, right? So, Do you remember when the blind lieutenant governor? So the lieutenant governor has jurisdiction in the gallery, the Senate gallery. So the blind lieutenant governor banned concealed carry in the gallery. Now, they banned long arms in the gallery because you can't bring props, you can't bring signs and stuff like that. So banning long guns in the gallery kind of falls in that prop category. So that's not as egregious. But banning concealed carry, you want to bring your family to the legislature to see your legislators in action, and in a high crime area, I would refine where you can release your guns. You're going to put it in your car, and in one of the cities with the highest car theft, right? Break-ins and car theft. I mean, this is crazy. So somebody said to me, "Well, what do you think about this?" I said, "Well, they ban guns in the gallery, but they didn't ban guns on the Senate floor. So if anything happens, I can shoot that." Right? So they remember January 6th with all this stuff. The governor freaks out and fences off the entire campus. Right? You had to go there. I went there on opening day, and it had concrete bollards, and it had every state patrolman in the entire state was there, lining the street. 740 National Guard. So I pull up and I show my ID, and I said to the state patrol guy, "So, all you guys are here?" He goes, "Oh, yeah." I go, "So there's nobody out there?" He goes, "No." I go, "So put the pedal to the metal?" He goes, "Oh, yeah, I put the pedal to the metal. There's nobody out there." Yeah. So, but one of the newspaper people, or the TV people called me up, and they said, "Are you afraid for your personal safety?" And I said, "No, why?" "Well, there's supposed to be a Trump rally." I said, "Are you asking me if I'm afraid because there's going to be a Trump rally?" And she says, "Well, yeah." I said, "No, I'm not afraid." She goes, "Well, are you armed?" I said, "Even if I was armed, I wouldn't tell you." I said, "But I will tell you this. If there's an Antifa rally, I always carry an extra magazine." So when the lieutenant governor bans guns in the gallery, we could still do open carry on the Capitol steps at that time at the gun rallies. And I pointed out the bill that bans guns in the Capitol campus and all that stuff, ban open carry on the campus. I pointed out you don't need this legislation to ban guns on this Capitol campus. It is already against the Constitution to carry a gun in an insane asylum. So you don't need this bill to do that. So when you talk about the craziness that you're experiencing, I ground the entire Senate to a halt over meatballs and tacos. Okay? So all this DEI stuff, right, it's going down. One bill right after another. I'm just going to vote now. I'm going to vote now. I'm going to vote now. And all the way up until there's this bill that says, if you want to be a doctor in the state of Washington, you have to take a DEI course. So I go, this is BS. I'm just going to vote no. Until she says, we have to ensure that every racial and ethnic group has a doctor that's sensitive to their cultural and racial sensitivity. So this ticks me off. That's what she's actually saying is quotas based on race. Mm-hmm. So I stand up and I said, hey, I happen to be Italian. I happen to have a Hispanic doctor. Is he not allowed to be my doctor because he's not sensitive to my cultural Italian values? And I like spaghetti and meatballs, and he likes tacos. And they went nuts. Bang, bang, you pounded me down. The press started screaming and all this stuff and on, right? So right after that, when they gavel you down, they shut your microphone off, right? So you can't talk and you can't pick up on TVW. The TVW shuts you off. And so right after that, the late Doug Erickson pipes up and he says, this is nothing more than critical race theory. Bang, bang, they shut the microphone off. And the lieutenant governor just sits down for like 10 minutes. Just sits down. We're going, what the hell's going on? Right? Finally, he stands up and goes, we're just going to vote on this. Right? Now, he can't actually say, we're going to cut off your debate. But nobody said anything. We voted on it. We moved on. But when you look at the dais up there, see the lieutenant governor, and there's a person on either side. So they got, on one side, there's a Democrat lawyer, on the other side, is a Republican lawyer. So I get on the phone, and I call her up, I go, gee, what the hell happened up there? She really upset him with your meatballs and taco stand. So he had to retreat to his chair, a little safe place, right? So I go home and I call up my buddy Tino. I go, Tino. And I tell him what happened. I go, Tino, you need to tell me whether this is insensitive. So I'm telling him what happened, and he's going like, you know, my friend, you made a serious mistake. You should have said tamales. Tamales are more representative of you. So he goes, we'll come over then and on Tuesday, right, make you some real authentic tacos. So they came over on Tuesday, and we had spaghetti, meatballs, and tacos. And I'm holding a plate with spaghetti, meatballs, and tacos surrounded by Mexicans. I took a picture, and I sent it to all the Democrats and said, "That a great meal which you were here." Right? I go, but these people truly are nuts. They have no idea what they're talking about. When they did the magazine ban. So I had like 13 amendments on this thing, right? And I had this one amendment. And I said, if you vote for this amendment, I will vote for this bill. I will vote to limit magazine capacities in Washington State if you accept this amendment. It's a very simple amendment. It only applies to criminals. Because those are the people you're worried about, right? So why don't we just apply it to them? That way you wouldn't be putting law-abiding citizens at a disadvantage. And if the bill passed, the result would be the same. Criminals will ignore it, but at least the law-abiding citizens won't be at a disadvantage. Right? Pretty logical. Okay. Can't carry a gun where children are present. It requires you to post a sign. So I said, I had an amendment. If you think posting a sign will protect your children, you need to vote for this amendment. And it was pretty simple. Signs had to be made out of Kevlar, right? Because then the sign could actually protect your child, right? I go, but these people have no idea what they're talking about. They, the Attorney General of the state of Washington comes in and talks about the training requirement to buy a firearm. Mr. Attorney General, do you think it's an impairment for to have a training program to buy a firearm? Oh, no, it's not an impairment. It's a requirement. I go, hey, did you read the little constitutional line there? Shall not be impaired? You know, I mean, these are the things that you're dealing with. So what can you actually do, as Jane has been pushing and the representative, you must sign in to support or oppose legislation. If you go to my webpage, SenatorPhilFortunato.com, one of the things that slides past says participate in the legislative process, and you click on that, and it tells you how to sign into the bill and how to list. It'll ask you if you want to testify, right? You say pro, con, if you want to testify, yes or no. So maybe you don't want to speak, but it is important to sign in to say yes or no. It helps us. The other thing is, don't send an email to 147 legislators. I don't look at those emails. I only look at emails from my constituents. I get these people from Seattle that demand that I represent them. I go, I don't represent you. I represent the people in my district. Don't you care what I think? No, I don't. Right? So we talked about the unlock and say, unload and store your firearm. So if you're not willing to go into the belly of the beast, what's your purpose in life? So I go to a panel in downtown Seattle. Okay? I'm the only pro-gun guy at a panel. And that was when I ran the bill to arm teachers. I go, but the bill didn't actually arm teachers. The bill was only 2 paragraphs. What the bill said was, let's go to the Criminal Justice Training Commission and ask them to develop an active shooter response training program for school districts to use. It should include firearms training, and it should include de-escalation training. And then we're gonna reimburse school districts for the cost of sending their teachers to this training. That's what it was only 2 paragraphs. So it's not like it's really hard to read. And then it was going to allocate $10 million. So, of course, immediately the left picked up on this and said, that $10 million could be spent for better things to educate our children and all this. And the news people said, why is it going to cost $10 million? I said, well, because if I said it was going to cost $100,000, you wouldn't be interviewing me now. Right? So I go to some teacher had all their kids write me and support or oppose this bill. I had 50, 60 kids write in support. Some was pretty humorous. Some opposed the bill because they didn't want their teacher to be armed because they were afraid that if they messed up in class, the teacher would get mad and shoot them. So they want our teacher to have a gun because they didn't want to get shot by the teacher. But a majority of those comments that were against the bill said, Seattle Times says, CNN says, Channel 13 says, Como News says. So I said to the teacher, I want to talk to these kids. So I go to the classroom. I put the bill up on the screen. And I said, all you kids that oppose this bill referenced news media. What the news media said about the bill. Here is the bill. This is what the bill says. It says, the Criminal Justice Training Commission shall develop an active shooter training response for school districts to use. Now, and I said to the teacher, do you know anything about how to respond to an active shooter? No. Does your principal? No. Does anybody on the school board? No. So why don't we go to the people that deal with crazy people with a gun and ask them, what should we do? Now, the purpose of this was to have a school district be able to pull off the shelf, if they wanted to have armed teachers or administrators, to be, because you didn't need the bill to do that. You already have 11 school districts in this state already have armed administrators or teachers. So you don't need the bill to do that. The school board could authorize it. But what do they need to do in order to get that ready, to get insurance coverage and all that? So that's what the thing was. You reach up on the shelf, you say, this is what you do if you want to do that, right? And so I said to the teacher, do you know anything about this? No. So why would I go to a teacher or administrator to have them come up with a response? The Puyallup school superintendent adamantly opposed to the bill. So I said, okay, what are you doing? What are you doing to teach our children, to protect our children? What are you training them to do? We put a blue line on the floor. And if there's a response, a shooter, we tell them to flip their desks on the side and build a wall behind that blue line. And they all get behind the line and they put a book over their head. I go, so your response to a crazy guy with a gun is to create a killing zone, right? Put all these kids in one spot. What are you, crazy? These are the kinds of things that we're dealing with. So you want to sign in, support or oppose legislation. I mean, if you come down to Olympia, and a lot of us are at a disadvantage because a lot of people have jobs as opposed to the other side. So the whole work thing gets in the way of politics. But if you can come down, it's even better. I mean, the other side all puts on their little orange T-shirts and all that stuff. But I have a really good district because if you're not endorsed by the NRA, you're not getting elected in my district, right? And even the Democrats, when they run, say that they fill out their NRA questionnaire. So you always see an AQ-like questionnaire. And then you look at who gave them money. Steyer, the anti-gun guy in California, Bloomberg, which is, what is it? Can't remember what the heck his little group is. His little mayors against, any town or whatever the heck it is. So those are the kinds of things that we're dealing with. So your job in coming here today is when you send emails to your legislator, you want to send it to your legislator, not 147. We want to send it to yours. And if you have friends in King County, in Democrat districts, you want them to send it also. So you can get on the phone and say to your friends or relatives, send this email to your friends or relatives, and send it to your legislator, your Democratic legislator. You pay attention to the people that you represent. So when I get stuff from Seattle, I don't pay any attention. I get stuff from my district, I keep track. So luckily for me, when the anti-gunner said, you got to listen to the people. I said, okay. I got, 147 anti-gun emails and 1,632 pro-gun emails, right? I listen to the people in my district. So I want to touch on that. Unload and lock up your gun. So when I was in downtown Seattle on this panel, they, the whole discussion was banning ARs and impeaching Trump, right? So, and they had this 16-year-old girl that she staged a walkout. She was the champion. Oh, she had a walkout. And all that. I go, the kid should be suspended from school. I go, 16-year-old kids are eating Tide Pods. What the hell does she know? Right? So anyway, so the kid was on there. Then the King County Department of Health was on it because, after all, guns are a health issue. And they said, we have a program to unload and lock up your gun. And I made the comment, that's anti-woman. Yeah. Right? Okay, so afterwards, about 5 or 6 women came up, and they said, what do you mean it's anti-woman? I said, okay, I'm not likely to get attacked going to my car tonight. You, however, you're all, all young women, you're all professional women. I go, so tonight, you live at home alone? Yeah? Mm-hmm. Tonight you go home, you try to get in your apartment, and somebody goes to try to grab you. You get away from the guy, you go into your bedroom, you unlock your safe, you load your gun, and you defend yourself. And they stood there and stared at me like this had never occurred to them. And I said, if you want to protect our children, you need to have a response to a bad guy with a gun within 1 minute. If somebody comes into this room, you need to assess that guy. Is that guy a threat? And you need to have a response in 1 minute. Because that shooter in whatever school shooting, from the first shot to the last shot was 3 minutes. Right? So if you're calling 911, so I said to this crowd of anti-gunners, if your response to an active shooter is to call 911, you will then have 20 or 30 of our children die before the police get there. And they go, oh, you're calling us murderers. I go, welcome to the NRA. So I want to give a plug to my good friend Bill Kirk. He supported me in my effort to be insurance commissioner. Because our insurance commissioner, I get along well with her. We have a good relationship. But she truly is dangerous and nuts, right? And needs to be opposed. Mm-hmm. And Bill was nice enough to come out and do some pro-gun talks. And one of the things that he said that really stuck in my head was, if you are ever involved in a shooting and you call the police, what do you say, Bill? You remember?
I hope you remember. I taught this class. Have you been involved in a shooting? What do you say?
Yeah.
You tell everyone you've been the victim of a crime.
Been the victim of a crime. I'm the victim of a crime. Right? That's what I learned from his speech, which I thought was pretty. Because what are you going to do? Like at our gun club, if somebody gets shot or whatever, somebody gets wounded, you don't want to call up and say, we have a guy that's been shot, right? Because then the SWAT team shows up, right? So anyway, where's Jane? Jane.
I'm right here.
I want to put a plug in for this young lady. Her efforts are just tremendous. I mean, she's constantly on this and all that. And I mean, the very fact that you're here today and her efforts is really appreciated. But we need people like Jane and Bill to advocate for us and talk common sense. So I mean, after all, it is common sense to make the signs out of Kevlar to protect your children, right? Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Phil. I wanted to mention a couple of things, and then we're going to open it up for questions. And so, how many of you have heard of the fraudulent spending going on with the government? Any of you guys heard about that? No. Well, there's a nonprofit. Yeah, there's a nonprofit organization in Seattle called the Alliance for Gun Responsibility. They have never taught a single safety class. I probably wouldn't want them to anyways. But just to let you know, I started digging around with the Open Checkbook website. And do you know that all of you, in your tax dollars, have given that anti-gun group that is funded by Seattle billionaires Nick Hanauer, Steve Ballmer, it's Paul Allen's estate, sometimes the Stingals get involved, the Costco owners, Bill Gates, you recognize some of those things, Howard Schultz, Starbucks. So it's funded by all these billionaires, but you all have paid that anti-gun group $787,300. Now, I did order a copy of the grants, and I don't know if you're in appropriations who approves those, but I'm going to be digging through that and see what the nitty-gritty is on that, because it's horrible that we have to pay money to an anti-gun group who then, in turn, gives that money to Democrat candidates. Have either of you gotten money from the Alliance for Gun Responsibility? No?
You admitted if you did.
Yeah. So another thing about the Alliance, Brian and Bia back there go with me to the legislature. So the key is, if you do want to go down there and get moral support, we show up down at the Capitol building when it's dark and rainy. We're down there at 5:30 in the morning. Now, you don't have to quite get there that early, but they bus in people from Seattle, and they feed them breakfast, lunch, give them T-shirts, hats, whatever. They stole Hunter Orange, and so they'll show up in masses. So we get there ahead of them, and that way we can get a seat inside the chamber, the hearing chamber. So you don't have to quite go that early, and I don't want to scare you guys, but we also, Aileen Klein and I, put together panels of people to testify. So if you are interested in that, I'll tell you how to get a hold of me for that as well. The other thing you should be aware about the Alliance for Gun Responsibility, if you look at the sign-in sheet during the testimonies, their site is all in the evening within 2 minutes of each other. So it's one person sitting at a computer signing these people in, and so technically a lot of those don't count. The other thing that they do, and this comes from being down there so many times, they have people that write their scripted testimonies. I've been in line in that hallway waiting for hours and have some paid person from them walk up to the person behind me and say, this person couldn't make it today, could you do their testimony? So a lot of theirs aren't even true. And if you dig down and research on some of them, like the woman who supposedly her niece died in California, I mean, she totally fabricated the story. And so there's a lot of that going on too. But if you want to show up down there and help us out, again, like we spoke, you can do a Zoom as well. So you don't necessarily have to be down there, but it is nice to go down there, and then you can meet some of the other legislators, because I do appreciate all the work that they do. So just to let you know, and if any of you want to research some of these organizations that get money from the state, I did send out a Facebook post on how to do that, because we need help researching. It's not just daycare centers, it's a lot of other things too. And then they give the money to fight our good elected officials and give money to their opponent. And another reason for voting in every election, do you know that the other side farm teams their candidates through school board races? So the time to stop a lot of those people is right there at the school board race. So just to let you know.